us to another episode on SUG12 exams. So in this episode, we are now looking at section B of the August 2022 Science Paper 1, which is basically physics. So this section has 9 questions, which is 45 marks out of 85, making it the most important section in the entire paper. So this is a section that you cannot afford to mess up. So take your time, go through as many past papers as possible. It's recommended that you revise the last 5 years. If possible, the worst case scenario, do 4. It will give you the clear picture of the question that you should expect. So let us start this section by looking at question B1. Figure B1.1 shows a simple pendulum suspended on a clamp stand for determining the periodic time. What is meant by periodic time of a simple pendulum? So this question just requires us to define what periodic time is. So the periodic time basically refers to the time taken by the pendulum to finish one full oscillation. So that is to move from A to B, then B to C, then C to B, then B back to A. This is the complete oscillation. That time is the periodic time, which is the same as the period of the pendulum. The periodic time is every time you let go of this bulb, it goes to this C, then comes back to A. So every time it takes that period, and that period is the periodic time. Let us look at B. State 2 factors that do not affect the period of the pendulum. So the most common known factor which does not influence the period of the pendulum is basically the mass of the bulb of the pendulum. Then number 2, which is less known, is the amplitude. So the amplitude does not affect the period of the pendulum. So as long as the length of the pendulum remains the same, the amplitude, how high you raise it, does not affect the period of the pendulum. Then number 3, in case you ask for 3, it would now be implied in 1, which is the material of the pendulum bulb. So the material does not affect the period. Then these are the key factors. So now, what are the factors, in case you ask, what are the factors that affect the period of the pendulum? So one is basically the period of the pendulum is direct proportion to the length of the string used to suspend the bulb. So the longer the string, the longer the period. The shorter the string, the shorter the period. Then secondly, the period of the pendulum is inversely proportional to the gravitational or acceleration due to gravity. So the higher the gravity, the shorter the period. The lower the gravitational force, the longer the period. So you need to know those 2 key factors. Let us look at C. This experiment is done on Earth and repeated on the Moon. Where would the periodic time be higher? So basically, where would the period of the pendulum be longer? So basically, the answer would be on the Moon. So why on the Moon? Because on the Moon, the gravitational force is weaker. Remember, we talked about the relationship between the gravity and the period. So the stronger the gravity, the shorter will be the period. The weaker the gravity, the longer the period will be, because there will be less push for it to come down. So the answer is, this is because the gravitational force is weaker on the moon than on Earth. So basically, this is how you answer this question. So please join me as I look at question B2 in the next episode.